Watching TV has changed over time. Streaming has become the new norm. That's why Golden State Media Concepts television podcast dives headfirst to the world of cord cutting. Want to be on the loop of what's hot in Netflix? Or if it's not a preference, what about original shows in Hulu? We've got you covered. Join us as we fill in the blanks and talk about movies to stream and what show you should be binging. This is the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast.
And welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast. I've got a whole new array of hosts for you. So I'm Shay Northrop.
I'm Jordan Giles.
You may know him from the Weird News podcast, and this is
Ravina Negra.
She's a little new. So today we're going to talk to you guys about Atlanta, El Rey Network, American Horror Story, and Mr. Robot. But to start us off, since we're new, I feel like we should all get to know each other just a little bit better.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay.
So I want to ask you guys, what is a television show that you completely despise?
You guys are going to hate me probably for saying this. Everybody does. I hate Game of Thrones.
Oh.
I literally can't handle it. I tried watching half of the first season to get into it, and I couldn't get into it. So I don't understand when everybody sits down all excited. They're like, man, there was only 13 episodes in this season. They're playing with us. And I'm like, all right, guys. I don't understand.
You should see the look on Jordan's face. It's priceless.
I feel like it's a look that both of us have. Like, me and Shay had both gave each other a look. Let's
They're like, let's get rid of our new co-host here. She's cut.
Should it just be Jordan Shay now?
So how do you feel about like Lord of the Rings?
I haven't watched Lord of the
fantasy?
Rings. I love Harry Potter. I read all the books and I watched all the movies. Same with Hunger Games, but I do not like Lord of the Rings. I do not like Star Trek.
I feel like those are completely different types.
Yeah,
of fantasy.
those are like based off the book, but I'm not a big fan of Hunger Games either. For being honest,
I hate Hunger Games.
I can't.
It's
can't
battle
deal with
royale.
them. It's battle royale. Yeah,
But no, that's really interesting. I'm not as insulted as probably Jordan is. I've only seen the
my
first
husband and my
season
family
and a
are
half.
so insulted that I don't like Game of Thrones.
So the husband watches it too. Do you go in a different room when he's catching up on HBO?
The whole family watches Game of Thrones together.
Well, that's kind of awesome, though.
It's a family affair.
It's this thing.
But I just go play with my dog while they watch Game of Thrones.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a cane corso.
See,
he looks like a black lamb.
This is why talking about the things we hate is so great, because then we get to learn more about each other.
Can I say to your the whole family watching Game of Thrones? Me and my mom, we both enjoy Game of Thrones, but due to just the amount of nudity, the amount of just boobs and death everywhere.
Oh no, we don't watch it. They don't watch it with mom and dad. It's like all of the siblings watch it together. Yeah.
Okay.
Watching Game of Thrones with your mom and dad, I
watch
like
it
I
separately.
Should be watching it half the time. I'm like, close my eyes.
So
we both have to watch it separately, and then we'll be like, "Hey, mom, do you remember that? Yeah, that was good. That was great. We just can't do it together."
That's so funny.
That's really funny. I watch American Psycho with my mom, and it's not a problem. Have either of you seen American Psycho?
Yeah.
Well, there's that one scene in particular with the two ladies and the flexing in the mirror.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I can watch that kind of stuff with my mom, and it's not a big deal.
Oh, I would be way too awkward. I wouldn't even want my kid watching that kind of stuff with me.
I remember seeing Juno
cool.
with my mom, and that was a terrible experience.
Really?
So what is it particularly about Game of Thrones that you just don't like?
It's like
what
the
are the
north,
specifics?
the north, the south, the south. It's like, who cares? I just don't know. And it's just like...
It's a good, accurate way to describe Game of Thrones.
That's Game of Thrones in a nutshell.
I like the... what was her name? With the white hair?
Katya.
Oh, yeah,
one?
She's great.
What was her name?
Katya?
Claudia? Yeah, the mother of the dragons.
Daenerys.
I thought it was hilarious. She's married to her husband at the time. I think he died later.
Yeah, no, that's no spoiler. That's
season 2. If you haven't caught up on that, I'm even caught up on that.
But he didn't speak English, and he would just murmur to her in a different language, and she was speaking a different language, right?
Love knows no boundaries.
True.
Good one, Shay.
So, Jordan, what's a TV show that you absolutely hate?
Okay, I'm actually very glad you asked. I'm going to say that I hate that show. I hate Lucifer. I hate him.
Can you tell me a little bit about Lucifer?
Well, I've seen one episode of it, and I never want to go back to it again. Lucifer is a show where it's a police procedural where the devil comes out of hell living in Los Angeles, and then he decides to solve murder crimes. I think it pretty much sums up everything that I can hate about police procedurals. Okay.
And the Satan supernatural element probably doesn't help, does it?
No, it doesn't. Because I don't. If he has supernatural powers, it's one thing. But like, he doesn't have enough to figure out who killed somebody. It's the whole thing is just ridiculous. It reminds me of that 30 Rock sketch where they did God Cop, where Alec Baldwin would play God and God's a cop, and there's just like these arbitrary rules like, here, come down, we have to pray now, and his partner's like, to who? It's just things like that where this doesn't make any sense. You're trying to fit a square into a circle.
Well, I kind of wanted to say a little something. I'm glad that you brought up Lucifer, because to mention something about it. For one thing, my mom watches the show. But do you know who Neil Gaiman is?
Yes, yeah.
The guy who wrote Coraline and the comic book series Sandman?
Yeah, and his memoir, Backgammon.
Yeah. So this is, I guess, based on the Lucifer from Neil Gaiman's Sandman, which I didn't actually know until recently.
Yeah, no, I think I've heard that too, but I don't think
it doesn't feel it doesn't feel like Neil Gaiman type stuff. You know what I mean? Like Neil Gaiman stuff is usually really like dark and violent, and this is kind of, for lack of a better word, silly.
It blows my mind how we're able to like add these weird formulas to police procedural stuff. Like there was that show Forever where the guy couldn't die, and he's been here for hundreds of years, and he always wakes up naked. Or when they made Limitless, the movie, they turned it into the TV show, the police procedural.
Right.
It's just, I feel like it doesn't matter what the thing is. It's like we take it upon ourselves to see how can we make that character solve crimes and murders. Like, Spider-Man's
Psych,
Aunt
right?
May. All of a sudden, maybe she can solve crimes and she's psychic. It's all silly.
I actually kind of want to see that show.
No, me too. I think I just sold it to myself. That sounds really cool. But despite that one off, Lucifer just seems silly because it's like if you own hell, surely that has to give you enough power to say, hey, yeah, no, he killed him. I'm the master of sin. Murder is a sin. Got this one covered. That's him.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, he's doesn't own hell anymore.
Well, that's dumb, too. Everything's dumb. I hate this show. It's a stupid show.
I'll have to lend you the comic book series because I actually own almost all of it for Sandman.
I'll check it out. I will always give something a chance. I watched the episode. I thought, this looks stupid, but I'll watch it first. I maintain Lucifer looks like a dumb show.
I actually have kind of a method. I'll watch 2 or 3 episodes, and if I don't like it in 2 or 3 episodes, I usually stop.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's usually my method. There have been some things where I just stop it dead in its tracks, like... Oh, God, The Fosters, for example. I will never continue that.
Oh, I never watched that. It wasn't a good show?
Not for me.
But I never heard about a second season, right?
Well, it's still going on.
It
is.
is.
The thing about ABC is they never not renew something. Like, if ABC has something, they'll just keep it going forever. Like, for example, it's a good tie-in to my least favorite thing on the planet. I hate Pretty Little Liars. Like, this show is just the worst.
Ball dropped, yeah. I don't like Pretty Little Liars either.
Yeah, I never liked it either. I'm like, who is A?
Well, and
I can't figure it out. I still don't know.
I'm a fan of horror movies and scary movies, and I've had these people come up to me and they're like, yeah, I like scary things, and I'm like, oh yeah, like what? And they'll be like, Pretty Little Liars, and I'm like, are you serious?
No.
I've dated a couple girls that were really, really into Pretty Little Liars, and oh my God. I've had to sit through a couple episodes, and literally what they're afraid of is a person in a ski mask. It's just someone in a ski mask walking around terrorizing them, sending them texts noted A. And every season it goes this person's A, and then in the season finale, just kidding, it's this person. And then you find out later that it's not.
So it's like their jigsaw.
Kind of, but it's like a bunch of like teenage girls who obviously aren't teenagers. They're obviously in their late 20s.
Their 20s, yeah.
And it's been going on since 2010.
Is it still going on?
Oh, yeah.
Are they still in high school?
I think
Wait, so they're not following the books anymore then? They've just gone way
Wait, there's
off
a books to
track.
Yeah,
Pretty
this
Little
is based
Liars?
on a book series.
But
Wow.
now it's just like gone way too far. I'm sure the books were done a while ago.
I knew a guy.
I don't know. Like, I just know that I just find this thing like just repulsive. Like, there was an episode that I saw where like somebody got saran wrapped to a pole, and like she couldn't get down, and I'm like, I've seen your fingernails, lady. They're long enough to pierce that.
Yeah, you can get out of there.
Can I tell you? Somebody told me a great way to watch it. I just invite you watch the show again, and after every sentence that they say, everything they say just in your head, because I'm a pretty little liar. So if they're like, who sent that text? I don't know, because I'm a pretty little liar. It makes it so much better. It's like it's not a drinking game, but it really does enhance the show.
The thing with ABC just in general is usually the acting is really bad, the sets are really bad, and the story is poorly written, and I just can't stand it. And I don't understand why there are these people that just like sit around and like enjoy ABC family shows.
No,
Like,
because they're pretty little liars.
Quantico's good.
what is that?
Quantico? I've heard good things about
It's
Quantico.
an amazing TV show. It's produced by ABC, and I love it. Priyanka Chopra is the head star in it. And basically, she went to Quantico for training to be an FBI agent. And once she gets on the scene working as an FBI agent, she was actually framed for something she didn't do, terrorist-related. So throughout the series, they're going back to everybody they met in Quantico, all her classmates, her friends, questions all those relationships to figure out who the real terrorist is.
So it's one of those shows where you see every
It's a
vantage
flashback.
point.
It's a flashback show too. You don't see every vantage point. You don't know what's going to happen next. It's not predictable. And season 2 is going to be coming out. It's amazing. I highly recommend
It
it.
kind of sounds a little bit like Burn Notice. A little bit.
I check it out.
Have you guys seen Burn Notice?
I haven't seen it. No.
Burn Notice is good stuff. All kinds of mindless action wrapped up in.
No, Quantico's not mindless action. It's really good.
I haven't
Okay,
seen
cool.
Burn Notice, I haven't seen Quantico, but from the sound of it, I'll check out Quantico before Burn Notice.
Well, we'll talk
Thank
about
you.
Burn Notice because it's actually like a little bit more than that. But anyway, we are coming up on a break. When we get back, we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about the show Atlanta.
I'm
So
excited.
stick around.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's gsmcpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the GSMC Television Podcast with your host, still. Yeah. Nothing's changed. How's it going, guys?
It's going
Hi.
good. So we
Good.
wanted to talk a little bit about Atlanta. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Atlanta, Jordan?
Okay, well, Atlanta, starring Donald Glover, who was in Community. He's been in a lot of different things.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, we may know him from as Childish Gambino, even from his rap career, or even on a stand-up, just Donald Glover. It's on Netflix. So he he's a very funny guy. I first knew him as a comedian. I know a lot of people kind of knew him as a rapper. So when you kind of put these two together, though, you have an amazing show on FX that I am already a big fan of.
Yeah, I watched a couple episodes recently, actually, and I'm kind of hooked. I kind of don't like the fact that I have to wait each week for each one because I'm usually the kind of person that,
Binge.
I binge watch things.
Yeah, I think we've really been spoiled with binging because this is one of those shows where I'm keeping up with by the week, and it's also driving me really crazy because we're only at 4 episodes right now at this time of recording, and it's been so much fun. It's equal parts funny and also very, surreal drama.
Well, and I feel like a lot of people can really relate to it in a lot of ways, too. Like, the main character was from Princeton, took a year off. The year off turned into 3 years. He's got a baby girl now. He's got a baby mama now. And now he's trying to be a producer or a manager, rather, for his cousin, who is a hip-hop artist. So, and
Up and coming.
yeah, up and coming. Paper Boy.
Paperboy, yeah. Watch me get them Paperboy.
And I feel like a lot of people can really relate to that because in American society today, a lot of people go to college, and when you're done, it's like, now what, you know? And it's hard to find a job and hard to get going after the whole college experience because, you know, they want you to have 3 years of experience. And let's not get into that.
It's impossible to get a job.
Yeah, I know.
That's like another podcast topic, huh?
Terrible, yeah. No, we could have a whole podcast on how... Anyway, so what did you think of the show, Ravina?
Okay, so I have not seen the show. I watched the trailer.
Okay.
But when I go home after this, I'm definitely going to start watching the show. Like you mentioned, I love how the character was so relatable. I'm like, he's just a guy like us trying to follow his dreams to be something bigger. And also, I like the way it was filmed just from the trailer.
Oh, man. The cinematography in this show is amazing.
Yes.
As a person who, you know, makes films himself, like, this is... It's good stuff. Now, when I first watched the first episode, like the first 5 minutes or so, I wasn't really following it because it kind of drops you in a situation what takes place later on in the episode. And I was really confused about what was going on. I was a little confused about like why these two people are yelling at each other and cursing at each other. And I was like, oh no, here we go. This is going to be lowbrow. But then after the confrontation happened, and the title scene, you know, ended, and you open up with him laying in his bed with his woman, his baby mama, and them talking to each other. Like, I was like,
complicated relationship.
Yeah, this really complicated relationship. I was like, wow. So these aren't just a bunch of, excuse me, but they're not just a bunch of thugs. Like, these people are like real people. Like, they're, you know, going through some real struggles, and this isn't going to be just a show about highlighting. It
didn't just highlight the thug life situation.
Right, no.
It highlights the struggle.
It makes, you know, the people instead of these big icons that you see in music videos and everything.
Which I thought that was a really cool part of it. It did feel real. I think it's funny that transition from is this lowbrow? No, it's actually just artsy.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, what it reminded me of recent TV, premieres would be, I think, Better Call Saul.
Okay, I haven't actually watched Better Call Saul because I'm really afraid. I loved Breaking Bad so much.
You're gonna like Better Call Saul. I think I'm confident, knowing you enough. I think you're gonna like Better Call Saul. It's because it still has that same Vince Gilligan's shine to it. You know.
Gotcha.
But what I think led to that was that. It felt like kind of like a cold open, and it's something that I really like in TV is that it didn't really spoon feed everything.
Yes,
the information comes when it comes. It's not like there's the surrogate character like, hey, I'm new to Atlanta. Well, who's that guy? Oh, that's Paperboy. He's like.
Right. No, they introduce it to you in a very real way where you're figuring it out as if you're meeting someone for the first time and learning about them, you know?
Yeah.
Like they kind of introduce you to his character and then you learn more and more about his struggles and his life and all these people's struggles in life as the show unfolds, you know? Kind of like meeting a new friend.
Yeah, no, I see that, and I think that's what I really look for in any kind of show, especially one that's not, where you take it more seriously, like Better Call Saul or Atlanta, which are both very dramatic, both have some humorous parts in it. I think what really gives it to me is that the story works on its own pace, where it takes its time. It doesn't rush anything to try to get you into it, and it trusts you're going to get into it just by the atmosphere of it itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, what about you, Ravina? What are you looking for in a show opening? Like, whenever you see a pilot like that, like a first episode, you're like, okay, I can watch the entire series.
I need something that I don't think will give away the whole storyline, but just enough to intrigue me. Like, less is more. So I don't need a whole lot going on in the first episode. Like, I love the show How to Get Away with Murder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen it with Viola Davis? She's amazing. And it was just like law students, settling in. And it just gave the hint of something twisted is going to happen with this group of people, but I didn't know what.
I fell off of How to Get Away with Murder kind of recently. Like, towards the end of season 2, I just kind of felt like it was becoming more, I guess, procedural, I guess. It didn't feel like it had that same shine to me during season 1. But the first episode of season 1, it definitely did attract me because it didn't feel like it was spoon-feeding the story to you. And it was a nice perk to it. So I don't know if this is something like a direction that it's just heading in TV, where we're kind of learning how to deliver something where it doesn't have to be an 80s sitcom.
Right,
but
yeah.
Golden age of TV is just getting more golden.
I don't know. I don't know if I would consider this the golden age of TV, but definitely television has become a much better,
medium
art form. It's no longer just like you said, sitcoms and things to make you feel good.
But that's a good thing about Atlanta, because that's like one of the main things I noticed just by the trailer, how the cinematography was different. And you don't see that on ABC. Shows like Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
You won't see that. So now we're starting to get some more diversity.
Well, I mean, like, there are a lot of really well shot shows. I mean, like, Breaking Bad is probably a perfect example of a show that's just shot like a movie.
You could have the sound off and no subtitles. And you're like, wow, those transitions.
Yeah.
Narcos has pretty good cinematography.
Love Narcos, yes.
There's a lot of really good cinematography in television nowadays. It's not just your simple 3-camera setup with, overblown lights above everything. Like, it's gotten a lot better in the last...
recently, I feel like it's gotten better because Narcos just came out. Season 1 just came out last year.
Yeah, but like I feel like
I think it's following the trend. I feel like it didn't set it.
Yeah, like I feel like the whole good cinematography in TV has been kind of an up and coming thing throughout the 2000s.
True. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you could even argue that like there were a couple 80s shows that had some really decent cinematography.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a couple HBO specials. I mean,
yeah, and well, HBO's always been good about that sort of thing. And it looks like we're coming up on another break. When we get back, we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about American Horror Story and El Rey Network.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch, whatever it may be.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the GSMC television podcast. And I'm back with the boys.
I'm Shay Northrup.
Jordan Giles. I was about to say Jordan Northrup. I really am.
And I'm Ravina Negra. Okay, guys, so Shay here told me to watch American Horror Story. Little did he know I'm the biggest scaredy cat known to mankind. I started watching the trailer at about 11 p.m. last night, and I had to shut it off. And I felt, like, really disturbed and upset. So, Shay, what kind of show is this? I was like, there's, like, so creepy, and the hand came out and got the cradle with the knife. And
so we talked a little bit about American Horror Story on the last episode, Pauline and I, and it was just this kind of, like, big build-up to it.
I'm sad I wasn't there for that.
Yeah, this was season 6. So they released a bunch of teaser trailers, so to speak, featuring all these things like spiders and babies and children in the cord, and they were really trying to make it to where like you didn't have any idea what it was going to be about, and that was kind of their marketing tactic. It's really not as scary as you'd think. American Horror Story is, I don't know if I would go so far as to call it cheap horror. You may have heard me use that term in the past, but it's pretty close. Like, American Horror Story is usually fairly tame as far as horror goes.
That's not my problem with it. I think my problem with it is just it's kind of senseless.
Yeah, I think that's really... Well, if you listen to the episode, I kind of talked a little bit about that. They don't seem to have a lot of focus in the seasons. I just finished watching Freak Show just to kind of get a little bit more of a taste for it. Yeah. And I watched the first episode of the new season, and Freak Show has a little bit of a better focus, but I feel like it went on for way too long. Like, if they would have ended it somewhere in the middle or like at episode 9 or something and just kind of tied everything up, I think it would have been better. It's one of those shows that's just kind of guilty of, okay, we're just going to keep dragging this along.
So just like Pretty Little Liars?
Yeah.
In the sense where they just dragged it on forever?
Yeah, they do drag things on a little bit. But the cool thing about American Horror Story is that each season has a different theme. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to kind of follow up on last episode by talking about what the theme is for this one. So what we know about this so far is it's called the My Roanoke Nightmare.
Roanoke. You know, like the historical place with the missing people, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so it takes place on this island, and it's set up in a kind of mockumentary type fashion.
Which was weird to me. I didn't like that too much.
Yeah, no, I didn't really care for it either. It's funny because, like, my girlfriend's really into the show, and she, like, you know, I asked her about it before I watched it. I'm like, so what did you think? And she's like, it's different.
It's fine.
but meaning not fine at all. So I guess it's set up, and here's something that really gets on my nerves when it comes to horror films. You always have this little family, and they move into this new little place, but it's really weird. And that kind of cliche, like, it just bothers me. It bugs the crap out of me. And this is a perfect example of that. It's the mockumentary style, kind of very Blair Witch-esque in a lot of ways. And I've seen a few good documentary style horror films, but for the most part, they're kind of garbage. And I'm kind of afraid after watching the first season or the first episode. And mind you, I usually give a show a couple episodes before I determine how I feel about it. Mm-hmm. I feel like this is kind of going in a kind of a scary route. I'm willing to give it a chance, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be too good to me.
Not scary in a positive way, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, yeah, like scary.
Yeah, it's not good scary.
For the record, there's really nothing in American Horror Story that I find even remotely like.
I think I found some stuff disturbing, but at the same time, I didn't like it because it felt nonsensical. I think, to the mockumentary thing, I do want to say that I respect that they're trying something different.
I do respect that too. That is a really good point. And I totally understand you getting kind of a little freaked out by the trailers because the trailers and the openings of American Horror Story are like scarier than the actual show.
So it kind of just like gives it all away in the trailer, like the best parts kind of thing?
More of like they try really hard to make it seem really freaky and kind of out of control.
Misleading. I think what they were going for, Ravina, was the fact that there was different trailers with different things, so you didn't know what the show was going to be about. So you want to tune in just to say, hey, what's going on in this season?
Right. Yeah. And I don't think they really have a whole lot to do with anything in the show. Like, and the openings of the show, too, are usually like these really kind of creepy snuff film feeling type things. Like, have you ever seen The Ring?
No, I'm too scared to see.
Well, there's
that.
like this tape on The Ring where it shows all this like really crazy imagery, like a tree and then like a finger getting a nail hammered through it, and then like all these like really, and it's kind of a similar like really close up, flashy, horrifying things for their openings. And it's usually the openings are like way more terrifying than the show, and the show's a little bit tame. As far as I'm concerned, I'm used to like really glorified, horrific things on the screen, so I'm really desensitized to a lot of stuff.
You're a pro.
Well, I've been watching
scary movies.
I've been watching horror movies since I was like 6.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Well, I think I started at a young age too, and I'm really desensitized to this stuff. Like,
right,
I'll be more creeped out if I'm reading a story than seeing something on a movie.
There have been a couple movies that have actually like gotten under my skin a little bit. Like, there were a few scenes in The Conjuring 2 that were actually I was like, whoa, hey,
yeah,
whoa,
it was uncomfortable,
hey. And there have been a few other movies. But so, yeah, that was American Horror Story. Yay.
I'm gonna watch it. I mean, we're doing a television podcast. It's an obligation among some to keep up. It's a popular show, but it really is hit or miss with me with like an entirety of a season on American Horror Story.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because like you'll get some because they'll have guest directors. And a lot of the guest directors do a better job than the actual overarching director. You know what I mean? Like, season 4 had my boy on it. James Wan has done a little bit of executive producing and a little bit of like guest directing
for American Horror Story
for some of the episodes and some of the seasons. And usually the ones that he has his fingers in are good. And then some of the other ones aren't.
That's interesting because, I mean, there are some good episodes out of it. I kept up with American Horror Story all the way up, with the bad, with the good, and I didn't even enjoy it sometimes. It just felt like something that was different on TV.
Right.
So and
that's definitely true. Like, it's definitely its own thing. They usually keep the same kind of cast going for them. Like, Kathy Bates is in this one again, and quite a few other people are returning. Mostly from season 1, however. A lot of people think that this season's going to tie in with season 1 quite heavily.
And that'd be really interesting. I'd be looking forward to something that's kind of, a tie-in that it's all in the same universe. But at the same time, I think I appreciate what American Horror Story does more than American Horror Story itself.
I think I feel the same way. I feel like this is what I call a gateway drug for horror. Like, I feel like it's a gateway kind of like, hey, watch this cute little show. Oh, you liked this? Here, let me show you a good movie. You know?
No, it's something that can kind of like open up a lot of people to, and even bring on more scary stuff. Because when I was a kid and I grew up, I loved, and this is going to sound corny, so be prepared to like give a little snicker. I loved Are You Afraid of the Dark? And So Weird.
Oh yeah, that's a good.
Those Disney and the Nickelodeon, because at the time when you're 8. And that's like one of the first horror things you see. I was like, wow, this is creepy. It's making me feel like a roller coaster.
Well, and then did you ever read those scary stories
like
to tell in the dark?
Goosebumps kind of stuff?
Well, Goosebumps, but then there was scary stories to tell in the dark.
I think that I didn't like Goosebumps, but I like scary stories to tell in the dark. Yeah.
Scary stories to tell in the dark not only had like kind of creepy stories, but they also had like some really, really like crazy artwork. And I was really into that when I was a kid.
I mean, I think that's the thing, though. It really depends because I know a lot of people, horror is the one genre they just absolutely won't do, and it is very polarizing. I mean,
it's a niche genre,
but it's interesting that people can enjoy it. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that. So maybe by me starting to watch American Horror Story, it'll help desensitize me to other things out there.
I think that's a good start.
Is American Horror Story too much of a jump for me right now? Let's just start it with Are You Afraid of the Dark?
No,
should I go back?
I think everybody should go back to Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Take it way back.
No, do not do that. I would give season 1 a try, and if it's too much for you, then it's too late. But like, I don't want to like when you say
it's too late for you. Yeah.
When you say like desensitizing yourself, like I just feel like I'm tainting like an innocent person like with like
it's gonna do the opposite effect. Now it's gonna make you afraid of everything.
Yeah,
because like when I even wake, like if I have to get up in the middle of the night, or even if I wake up early and nobody's downstairs. Oh Lord, I'm so scared.
You know what freaks me out? Not like scary stories, if it like that. Well, like what makes me scared to get up is if I'm listening to something like murder mystery things.
Yeah,
things like that. That's whenever I'm like turning on all the lights. I'm shouting, "I'm coming into the hallway." So if anyone's in the hallway, you still have a chance to leave.
There was one that I was listening to where it was like a podcast about like there's a woman. She's in your house.
Oh my God! And no, stop.
You can only see her out of the corner of your eye.
Was that like a Night Vale thing?
Yeah,
that was.
I wasn't going to say the name of the podcast.
Well, who doesn't know Night Vale?
It's so great.
I've listened to a few episodes of it, and it's funny.
One of my favorites. Anyway, we're coming up close to the end here. I just kind of wanted to briefly talk about El Rey Network in tradition of talking about cord cutting things and stuff like that. El Rey Network is a channel network run by Robert Rodriguez. And it's mostly like wrestling, old kung fu films, and like stuff with Kurt Russell.
That sounds like a fun network.
It's kind of like It's kind of like Spike before Spike got the way that it is now.
I guess that's all channels, right? Because everything was just reruns of something until they found their big niche.
Well, they have what's that show based on the movie From Dusk Till Dawn? They have the show From Dusk Till Dawn that runs on there, among a couple other shows that are originals. But I
thought it was just Dusk Till Dawn and Luchador matches.
Yeah, Luchador matches.
I think that's the only two I think they have.
Well, that's the only original stuff they have. Yeah, but they have a lot of like Bruce Lee flicks, Kurt Russell flicks. Chuck Norris, that kind of like cheesy, actiony, grindhouse 70s and 80s type stuff. You can find it on El Rey Network.
Reminds you of just being shirtless with Mountain Dew on a couch with your big brother watching wrestling. This is the network for you.
But it's like cool wrestling. Like it's not like WWE. It's like traditional Mexican wrestling.
I don't think there is cool wrestling in my book. Like I don't think there's like wrestling where like, oh, that's nice. Yeah.
I was like, why don't you guys become models or fitness models, right? Like why are you beating each other up?
Because
I just want them to shake hands, be friends, and I want the rest of the match dedicated to just them getting along.
My thing is like when I see somebody get hurt, I feel hurt.
Well, like it's not.
That's some
it's
real.
Not real, but I mean, they do get really badly hurt. No, it's for the love of the sport, guys.
Yeah, that's true. But if somebody like breaks their nose, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, my nose hurts. It's weird. I get like
so
really
empathetic.
I guess I'm just so desensitized to violence. Anyway, I think that wraps up our show. We're getting, I think that wraps up our
went by
show.
really fast.
So this has been the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast. I'm Shay Northrup.
I'm Jordan Giles.
And I'm Ravina Negra.
And if you want to hear us out, you can find us on SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, and the Golden State Media Concepts podcast.net. .com. There are a few other places you can find us too, but those are the main ones.
GSMCpodcast.com.
We're also on Google Play.
And Google
that's
Play.
right. We
Yeah.
are on Google
And
Play.
if you like this stuff, and I hope you have, I want you to go ahead and like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And if you don't like it, then just share it with your enemies and tell them to do it. So either way, it's a win for both of us.
Any publicity is good publicity, and that concludes our show.